missed. Same thing with the puzzle pieces.
Yes.
And I like it. It is so much, and this is like giving Team Asobi a full budget to make a game and like just let them just fully go ham with it. Like I saw like in the first galaxy you go to, it's like these little swirls. I'm like, what are these? And it's like, oh, here's a lost galaxy and the lost levels. And then that way you get extra. Now it's a little bit smaller. You get a few fewer bots to find and one less puzzle piece, but it's still like extra levels and extra. I'm like, wow. So it's incentivizes you even more to keep exploring, to find other worlds to do this.
Yeah.
And then in that galaxy, if you hover around long enough, you get to find these small one-off extra levels too. And you find like just one cameo bot. But there are some, and I don't know if you've experienced this, because let me ask you, you've made it through the second galaxy, correct?
Yeah, I'm in the third one now.
Okay. So you're not that farther behind me because I just started the fourth today.
Okay.
But I don't know if you saw this in the second one, but there's the sacred symbols are extra levels.
I got the triangles, and my God, they are challenging.
I'm glad I'm not the only one, because
they are challenging.
Because the next one, the sacred symbol ones, like I wonder if they're going to be eventually, because spoilers for the PlayStation Quickies, they are going to add one of the game modes is going to be a speed mode challenge run. I wonder if those are going to be the challenge speed run modes, because they're short enough, but they're also challenging enough to get people to try and beat the times. I have a feeling that's going to be what those are. But my God, the armadillo one, like, I don't know if you tried all four of them.
Yep.
The armadillo one, so flipping hard. I can't tell you how many times I died just in the, like, oh my, it was so infuriating. I'm like, is this Dark Souls? Is this this Elden Ring? I thought this was Astrobot. like
I'm glad I'm not the only one, because, dude, there was one of the triangle ones, like, I kept dying. I just kept dying over and over and over, because it was like, you have to use your jets, but it breaks the platforms under you. And God, like, I just had to give up at some point in time. It was just like,
I had to leave planet. I'm just like, and what sucks is because, like through the fuller fledged levels, they have save points throughout this one is like, you got to make it to the end. It's short enough, but you got to make it to the end. Otherwise you have to start all the way from the beginning. I'm like, dude, come on. Just like, at least if I get halfway, let's get me to the halfway point.
Yeah. That was something that I was like super perturbed about as well, is like getting through it and then are getting to a portion and you're like, man, it would be nice to have a save point, but I guess that's the whole challenge, is that you need to go through the whole entire thing to be able to do it and everything. But there's a lot of discourse around this game of how good it is, and then people are like, well, it's not Nintendo, and it's like, this game is it's PlayStation. It's supposed to feel like a PlayStation game.
Yeah.
But a lot of weird hate around this like, oh, well, PlayStation now has everything. You know what I mean? It's like they got platformers again.
Like, and it's like, is that a bad thing? Like, do we forget Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart was in the launch window of the PlayStation 5?
I don't know, dude. Like, so people are super, super weird about things.
It's the internet. You can't please everyone nowadays.
Yeah. What's up, Michael? How are you doing? He's over in the vertical stream tonight.
What up?
I absolutely love this game. I literally, like, there's a new, I don't know if you're updated on your iOS and everything, but there's a journal app in there. And I literally started like taking tons of notes while I played through, and took video of like Snake waving. And then this, when you see this, these things are amazing. Like that, I played some of these on there, but on stream, I had to like rest this on my stomach. But just that, when the first time I did that, I was like, this is the greatest thing ever. It's like, have I spun around one of those pole things before? Not that kind of spinning on a pole, but Have I done that in video games 1,000 times at least? Yes. Was that more satisfying? Oh, by far.
100%. Like this game just makes you smile from ear to ear, just at the little things. Like, and they
Hmm.
do it, and like it's the level creation. Like again, like Astro's Playroom had very intuitive levels, and like the gimmicks in those stages were very fun. But now with a full fledged budget, like the power ups or like the secret, the secret things to get you help you get through those levels, and like being able to like do stuff like swinging, like the boxing gloves, I think are still my favorite ones
Yep.
so far that I've found. And it is just like a testament to what Team Asobi is able to do. Like they know what they are. They're not trying to be like a Bend where they go from Siphon Filter and try to make a zombie survival in Days Gone and it doesn't pan out. Whereas this one, they're like they know where their bread is buttered, and they're like,
Yep.
people love like people were brought in from the PSVR 1 game. We're gonna make a console game. People really love that. Now let's make a full-fledged $70 game and let's just go ham with it and just like really give these people what they want. And it is hitting it out of the park on almost pretty much every stage.
Mhm.
And that is to my next thing, like a love letter to PlayStation. When you go back to your hub world and you're finding these parts and like you're collecting the bots, like seeing them drop in and then see like of course all the normal bots go to the center where the PlayStation
Yep.
5 is. Then the icon characters go out, and then like you see these things that hover, like you walk by them and like these bubbles come up. I'm like, what is this? And as you're collecting the puzzle pieces, it fills out these extra things on the stage, and that's what like adding stuff to it just fleshes out the hub world
Yep.
even more, and you see it change. And then after you complete each galaxy, like you open up a new part of the hub world to explore and get special items, like more puzzle pieces, and then like just
The gotcha
other stuff.
machine.
The gotcha machine was the first one, and like that's and the characters that have the little bubbles hovering over them, stuff that like, oh, I have a gotcha thing that you can unlock, and it adds more to the world. Like, I got Dante from Devil May Cry, right? And it's like it unlocked his guns, and it's like just comboing. So he's just like sitting there like comboing an
That's
enemy.
cool.
And I'm just like, that's so, and all like the Castlevania characters and like the undead characters are sitting under the shadow of the PlayStation 5 casting it because they can't come out in the sunlight. It's so well done. And I don't know if you tried this, but like I don't know what they do before you get their gotcha item, but
They
if
don't
you
really
go up
do much
Okay.
before. Yeah.
that's what I pretty much that's why I figure. But if you go up to and hit them, it's like they do like a special interaction too, and it's like it's so well done. And then after you beat like the boss, you unlock like a special character that unlocks like a special world for you to beat, and like that's where you find the PlayStation inner part,
Mhm.
To go in there, and like the themes, like the first one. I feel like is more nostalgia. I feel like that's like it because spoilers again. It's Ape Escape, and I
Yep.
feel like that's more of like a hit in Japan. Like I don't know many people that still talk about Ape Escape here in America, but like
Yeah.
the next two, like of course the second one, our favorite level. I'm not going to spoil that here, but if you saw Zach's stream, like that was like and like the intuitiveness to add stuff from that universe, like that just like oh, it was so good. Like I'm sitting there watching you, and you're just like going ham, like going crazy over like the little details. I'm doing the same. I did the same freaking thing when I played through that. I'm like, oh my god. So they did it. And then the third one is just as much of a love letter to that franchise. And then like they add us like when you beat that, they add it because you collect a bunch of characters in that little stage too, and then it puts like a platform and then like all the characters around it, and like it just fleshes out the hub world so it doesn't feel like just a barren desert. So it's just like
Okay.
it's just like the little like they've done all the little things that people probably wanted more out of from Playroom, or they just were just like, hey, people would really enjoy to do this. And it is just again, yes, there are frustrating things about the game. Like there are too many opportunities to die. Now, as part of that, because I'm trying to rush through it, yes, because in that armadillo level on the triangle stage,
Yep.
I mistimed my jump at the very end, going back to like the frustration,
Ooh.
and I had to go I was right there at the end, and I had to go all the way back. I'm like, man, bump this. So like, yes, does it have those moments? Yes, but it's also so much fun and so much of a joy that it's almost like little bit of masochism where it's like, all right, I got to go back again, got to do it again, got to try this different, you know, like the want to do it. Now I see why the Souls people do what they do, like the timeless trial and errors that they do. I kind of get it now.
Derek
So
comparing Astrobot to Souls game.
you know,
oh, that is a hot take if I've ever heard one.
you know,
but if this game didn't load as fast as it did after you die, that would be an issue.
correct.
Because you don't have health and everything, and that's one of my only. It's not necessarily even a gripe. It's like you're so easily killed.
Yes.
In this game, and I'm glad that in the boss fights you get 2 hearts and you have 3 lives essentially.
Correct.
Because if it was just you get hit and you're done, like it would be untenable. Like you wouldn't be able to beat them. With the attention to detail from the music to the little, like there's like a cable in several of the levels, but it's literally a PS1 controller cable.
Yep.
I didn't notice that until literally like Tuesday night, and I was like, oh my god, that's a PlayStation 1 controller cable.
Yeah.
So just those little things like that. And then playing Ape Escape, like I remember playing it, the demo disc, back in the day. I didn't ever play the full game, but I remember the frustration of playing it, and it felt just like that playing Ape Escape on this. And I was like, at first I was like, oh, this is really cool. And then that last ape was like, not the boss, but the last ape that I was trying to get was so annoying.
Oh yeah, the one that darts between the hedges.
It's like there's mud around, like
oh yes,
that one. Like the one in the hedges, I just snuck up on and just boop and just got him like automatically. So thankfully that wasn't that hard. But yeah, I want to talk about that level, the second level.
Oh yes. Whew. All right, we're just gonna go full spoilers.
Yeah.
Obviously, if you watch Zach's stream, you already know. They did the doggone thing. They did got it. Like I was wondering when Kratos and Atreus would show up. Now I'm also now in thinking that Aloy, like from Horizon, is going to be one of those stages now too.
Yeah.
Which I'm going to be stoked for.
That would be so cool. And seeing like one of the Thunder Jaws.
Yes.
Oh my god, that'd be so cool.
Oh. But seeing like, first of all, calling it bottom one, then having like the setting and like the music and like, of course, it's modeled after Ragnarok. You would say, and it's like Ragnabot, and like having the ice and like having like the little puzzles where it drops down and like one of the pillars has a coin chest you can do, and then like of course all the characters like finding Thor, finding Third, doing like the puzzle saw, like throwing the axe, freezing it, like freezing the water spouts to platform over, summoning Jormungandr, like that. Yep. Like I was like, what is, like, okay, I know something's here, and then I flip it over. I'm like, when I saw the horn, I'm like, oh, buddy, you don't tell me that. Don't do this to me. And then like even like you said, the minute details, like finding the chests that you open, like for like health and resources and whatnot, and it'd just be coins. And then like having to destroy Odin's ravens, like man, one of like the coolest features from the first game, like to try and find it. So like I'm back in that mode. I'm like, all right, where is it? I'm searching high and low. Like,
second game.
You're right, because they didn't have as many in the first one. So
yeah,
but yeah,
and
like
the tree.
Like, having the tree and then having one of the ravens holding it, Mimir's head, was just genius. And then like on the little stone, like showing you how many you've destroyed. And then like having their souls in the tree like they are from the game. Like, bro, this is like, it was so well thought out. And I'm just like, it's arguably my favorite level. And then like, of course, the final end boss, like Needhog, like of course it's a boss from Ragnarok, but having it be like a giant pig was cute, and it was a nice play on words.
Yeah,
and then having the tree from what's her name? Because I'm thinking Freya. from
Yeah.
having the turtle tree,
Mm-hmm.
and then like flipping it on its back, and you can flip it. I'm like, it was so many callbacks to the first two games that was just so done well in that level. Like that is definitely a masterclass in how to build a proper platforming level.
Yeah, and the axe felt great throughout the
Yes.
whole level, and just it f- it looked like Astrobot, but it felt a lot like God of War, which was
Oh,
really cool. Just like the Ape Escape felt like Ape Escape.
right. And that's
Uh,
cool too, is like those were different, like not just finding all like because it's all just like cameo characters in those levels, but also like you become the main character, like you're
mhm.
donning them and you gain their powers. Like seeing him transform into Kratos with the beard was just so great. And then him coming back and going, "Rah!" Like doing the
Yeah,
roar.
yeah,
And then hearing like because I missed it the first couple times, but then I was like, boy, I'm like, yes.
yes. I was going to ask you, did you notice the boy thing? That was my favorite part of the whole entire Tuesday stream was just that. But did you ever let Astrobot like stay idle
Oh
during
yeah,
that
about
level?
smashing the health stone. Yeah.
He also does the Rage Stone as well.
See that one I didn't because
Yeah.
something told me I'm like because when you let him idle just at a regular level he starts like calling out to see just to see if his fellow bots are there. Like
Yeah.
let's see what this does differently, and I just see the health. I'm like that's cool, but I didn't see the rage stone.
Yeah. And then like having Agrabota like playing God of Bot,
Yeah.
Ragnabot, and then having like all the wolves around her
Oh,
and
and like
everything.
and you're talking about like callbacks to the two games, like the little secret passes that you slide in between to get to like I'm like just everything about that level just was like they paid attention. They
Yeah.
know they did the doggone thing.
It was definitely a love letter to God of War.
Hmm.
And as everybody knows here, we love God of War.
Yeah,
There's no doubt about it.
just a little bit, you
Just a
know.
little bit, game of the year for every year.
Now let's
Even
go to
over
Tsushima
I'd put God of War over Tsushima. You know
until
this.
Tsushima 2 comes out.
Well, we'll see. We'll see. But dude, I have utterly enjoyed it. And like you said, there'll be like asteroids that you have to destroy that will open up a
Mhm.
smaller level where you're able to get like one bot from it. There's just so much to do and unlock. And I like
Mhm.
on the main stage where you're going around and you have to have X amount of bots to be able to
Right.
do something. I didn't know this, but if you press start and you go down to show map on that main world, it'll tell you which ones are still left and how many you
Oh yeah.
need. Didn't
Yeah.
know that until Tuesday.
Oh, and I also like how they do the Pikmin thing when like he has to get him to do something. He just like whistles over there for
Yep.
them to come over. I'm like, that's cool.
Yeah. Um, Also, when you're using like the arms punchy things,
Oh yeah,
if you charge up and you let it go and you press R2 and L2, like his arms will swing out. It is
oh
super cool,
that's
dude.
I didn't ever try that. That's cool.
Yeah, and the worms, you can do two of those at one time, and it's a trophy. One of the
Huh?
awesome people watching Tuesday told me about that. But
The
you can like
worms.
hit one. It's in.
It,
Trying to remember which.
was it a boss fight?
No, it was. There was there was a bigger boss in that level. I can't remember which. I think it was in the octopus one. That
Okay,
not that level specifically, but in that galaxy
unit
or whatever.
galaxy. Yeah.
But yeah, you definitely did that levels if you're further than me.
Yeah.
But yeah, you can hit. It's like you punch it and then you have to like pull back and you pull the worm out of the ground. You remember that?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, I
Yeah,
got you.
you can do two at a time. Like hit one with the
Oh,
right, hit one with the left, and then pull both of them out at the same time, and that's a
that's
trophy.
cool.
So, but yeah, Dan said the PS2 style save files. I love that, and
Yes.
the memory cards and like just everything about this game is so fun.
Yeah. And it's definitely a breath of fresh air and leaves a better taste in your mouth coming off of um Star Wars Outlaws being pretty much like a disappointment for both of us. Like,
Yeah.
I still might go back occasionally and just like see if anything grabs me, but yeah, I'm gonna beat Astrobot first before I even do that. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So like this coming and it's not just because it's PlayStation and I know we're Sony ponies and all that kind of stuff, right? Nay, but I mean it's just the fact that it's what we enjoy and like it's just like again like Nintendo, PlayStation is learning how to make very polished, very well thought out games, and it's just the facts. And like we'll get into it later, like Ubisoft is waning, and that's why their stock prices are dropping rapidly.
Yes.
So it's just the facts. Like facts don't care about your feelings. I'm sorry. Like yes, I'm sure there are people who love Outlaws, and good on you. But it's not. But it's something that's just not for. It's not something that's speaking to us right at this moment. And Astrobot is. So and that my last question for you is like, we saw a little bit of it in Playroom, but like do you feel like the boss battles are more thought out as well, or are they pretty much straightforward, just like from Playroom?
So I didn't play Playroom, so I don't really have any opinion on that. But I didn't really care for the gorilla boss battle. I thought that was kind of lame, to be honest. The pirate one was pretty cool. I know that wasn't like a boss. It was kind of like a mini boss.
Right.
But the octopus one I thought was really done well.
Yeah, especially when he like parts the sea and like sends time. Like it's all right. Let me just come to you, and then all of a sudden you see waves and like, oh, gotta get the higher ground. Like, dang it, man.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's very thought out. And then the boss in the third one's also very thought out too. So I really like, even though again there were some parts where I got screwed over, but that was mainly me. It was still like a very, very fun boss fight to have.
Okay. Well, I'm looking forward to it. I hope everyone looks forward to it as well, because we'll be streaming more Astrobot as we go through this and enjoying all the cool things that has to do with it. But it is time for the gaming discussion. We go long on these, what we've been playing recently.
Well, because we've been actually playing things. NCAA is NCAA. But when we get
football.
into more story-based stuff, is like we have stuff to talk about.
Yeah, exactly. Well, let's get into the gaming discussion. First up, Microsoft lays off another 650 staff from its video game workforce. Phil Spencer sends memo to staff.
All I can say is woof. Like it seems like Xbox, like Ubisoft, like again, their stocks aren't going to drop, but it's like Xbox in the public perception is just like it started here, and now all of a sudden it keeps just waning. Ever since the deal went through, it's like just been downhill, I feel like. In the memo, Spencer said the roles affect mostly corporate and support functions and were made to, quote, organize our business for long-term success. He clarified that no games, devices, or experiences are being canceled and no studios are being closed as part of these cuts. These latest layoffs mean Microsoft has let go of 2,550 staff from its gaming business since acquiring Activision Blizzard for $69 billion with a B in 2023. In his memo below, Spencer makes it clear that the cuts are related to the acquisition. Phil Spencer's email to staff is reproduced in full below. Quote, for the past year, our goal has been to minimize disruption while welcoming new teams and enabling them to do their best work. As part of aligning our post-acquisition team structure and managing our business, we have made the decision to eliminate approximately 650 roles across Microsoft Gaming, mostly corporate and supporting functions, to organize our business for long-term success. I know that this is difficult news to hear. We are deeply grateful for the contributions of our colleagues who are learning that they are impacted. In the U.S., we're supporting them with exit packages that include severance, extended healthcare, and outplacement services to help with their transition. Outside the U.S., packages will differ according to location. With these changes, our corporate and supporting teams and resources are aligned for sustainable future growth and can better support our studio teams and business units with programs and resources that can scale to meet their needs. Separately, as part of running the business, there are some impacts to other teams as they adapt to shifting priorities and manage the lifecycle and performance of games. No games, devices, or experiences are being canceled, and no studios are being closed as part of these adjustments today. Throughout our team's history, we have had great moments and we have had challenging ones. Today is one of those challenging days. I know that going through more changes like this is hard, but even in the most trying times, this team has been able to come together and show one another care and kindness as we work to continue delivering for our players. We appreciate your support as we navigate these changes, and we thank you for your compassion and respect for each other. These cuts follow the already eye-watering 1,900 layoffs Microsoft had to its gaming business earlier this year, and continue the video game industry's torrid time of late. Microsoft closed Hi-Fi Rush developer Tango Gameworks and Redfall developer Arcane Austin as part of those cuts. PUBG publisher Krafton later picked up Tango Gameworks, saving around 50 of the 100 staff. Speaking to IGN in June, Spencer said, quote, "I have to run a sustainable business inside the company and grow. And that means sometimes I have to make the hard decisions that frankly are not decisions I love, but decisions that somebody needs to go make." While Spencer had recently insisted Microsoft's video game franchises are getting stronger and Xbox console players are as high this year as they've ever been, Xbox console sales have plummeted, and the gaming business is now bringing a number of its exclusives to rival platforms, including PlayStation 5. Xbox hardware sales were way down again in Microsoft's quarter four, the latest financial quarter we have figures for. While gaming content sales skyrocketed again thanks to the company's acquisition of Activision Blizzard, gaming revenue overall appears to be doing more than fine in terms of year-on-year comparisons, even setting quarterly records, but these are largely due to the boost offered by Activision Blizzard. It wasn't there to make money for the company last year. Now it is, so the numbers have gone up. Gaming revenue was up 44% year over year, but with 48 points of net impact from the acquisition, which indicates that Xbox, not Activision Blizzard related business, isn't doing as well as it was last year. Xbox content and services revenue fared better, up 61% year over year, with 58 points of net impact from the acquisition. Overall, Microsoft's more personal computing division, which includes Xbox as well as other segments such as Windows, brought in $15.9 billion with a B in revenue, which is up 14% year over year during quarter four. So it's, again, at least it was more corporate jobs and not developer jobs to an extent, but it still sucks. Like 650, yep. And granted, I get to an extent, when you do a merger, you're not going to need the same people for a small division across the board, you know? So of course it's like, hey, Sally, I know you were HR rep, but we already have 10 HR reps here. We got to let you go. We can't have 11. We don't have space or the payroll to pay 11 HR people. So like that kind of stuff I get, but it's still like 650 people and just 2,500 layoffs from them, like, is ridiculous.
This year.
Yeah, just this year. Yeah, because I saw something. I don't know if we get to it later on. I think we do in one of the PlayStation things, but that so far they've tallied over 11,000 layoffs this year.
Well, and it's like you think about Xbox, they had a big round of layoffs last year, I want to say, with 343 and various others.
Right.
So like this is just continuing. And to Michael's point, he says, wonder what the FTC thinks about this and the European equivalent, where they said, we're not going to be, laying people off and all of this. And it's like, so far you've laid off, I literally highlighted it, 2,550 people this year alone.
Yeah.
And it's kind of crazy. And Amy's point, this memo sounds so insincere, and
right.
It just sounds like corporate gobbledygook. Yeah. It's platitudes and, we blah, 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 this, that, and the other. And at the end of the day, 650 people lost their jobs today at Microsoft.
Yeah.
And
like Phil Spencer saying like, oh, it's something I don't want to do, but I have to. It's like, that's just, garbage in my, like that's hot. That's on a hollow apology. Like, yes, I know everyone has to make tough business decisions, but at the end of the day, when you're still being able to put food on your table and 650 people are now scrambling to find that way, doesn't come off as good.
Yeah. And Nadella, which is the Microsoft CEO, I know a lot of this because we've talked about it before. A lot of this is coming, and we talked about it a lot when they lied off the 1,900 people. A lot of this is coming from Microsoft. They want to turn a
Yeah.
profit, and they are making every which way happen, because if you can cut overhead, then you can make up profit. And them making 15.9 billion in revenue sounds great, but like how much of that like actually translate into net profit? You
Right.
know, you got you got staff, payroll, all of that good stuff. You've got buildings, depending on how many
Yep.
people are working in office, and then you've got the gaming division side of things where it's a little bit more complicated,
Mm-hmm.
where they're all over the place in different cities, different countries. You know,
Yep.
it's a very different kind of thing, and it's like, okay, yes, you don't need multiples redundancies in your company, but when your company balloons, it's like
Yeah.
you're going to need more people than you think.
Correct.
I don't know. It again, this is one of those things. It's like you're not getting anywhere by having these big corporations buy other big corporations.
Correct. And again, to Michael's point, it's like the FTC, like this. I said it. I said it when they did this big number of layoffs, like earlier this year, and the FTC is probably just beside themselves because they're just sitting there saying, "We told you, tried to warn you, you didn't want to listen, and now this is what you get."
Yep.
Good job, guys. This is you made your bed, now lie in it. And again, I get all the business stuff, but it doesn't suck any less. This is where, like, just like in sports, when business comes into play, this is the sour taste it puts in all the fans' mouths, because this is the stuff, this is the reality we have to deal with. And it's like entertainment is our escape from reality. Like we don't want real world stuff to come into our stuff and ruin it. You know what I mean? So,
Yep.
But again, you're right. Like, it is Microsoft wanting to turn a profit, but it's like at the end of the day, it fills over the head of Xbox. He should be able to have some power to put his foot down and be like, all right, is there a way to like at least reduce these numbers by a third? You know what I mean? Like, instead of 650, can we find a way to just lay off 400 and keep 250 people on staff and on payroll? Like, again, like what we talked about with Activision Blizzard, what we talked about with Bungie, what we talked, all these layoffs over the last couple months that have been real eye popping. It's like, where are these? And Amy brought it up. Where are these executives that are like Nintendo did it? Like, Nintendo is a perfect example. And when the Wii U was struggle busing, instead of laying off all these people, the executives took a salary cut so that way they could keep everybody. Yep. And now they're reaping the reward with the Switch. Where's Microsoft? Where are these execs taking pay cuts? Where's Sony's execs taking these pay cuts? If they are really sorry and really sincere about people not wanting to lose these jobs, they should be making sacrifices. Now, again, that's easier said than done to an extent, because when layoffs have been rampant across the industry for the last 2 years, essentially, you can't be taking pay cuts left like every other quarter. Yes, you can, depending on your salary. Like, if you're the top dog, you can afford that, especially if you already have 5 vacation homes. But if you're like a low level exec, you can't. There's only so much you can cut.
Yeah, well, Iwata took 50% pay cut himself.
Right.
Is Phil willing to do that? Is Nadella? Of course he isn't, because he's the one that's pushing all these. It's just crazy to see where gaming is.
Mm-hmm.
It is
very corporate it's become.
Very corporate, very greedy, which we'll talk more about that.
Not demure.
Not demure at all. But you look at it and you think, man, because of loot boxes, live service games, all these microtransactions, that who was complaining about this all those years ago, Derek?
I don't know, some bearded sultan, like,
yeah. I hate it for everyone that's lost their jobs, and I hope that they're able to find something. And again, these are not developers, but that doesn't make them or their plight any less important.
Right.
And I think going forward, the FTC and all these regulatory boards are going to be super scrutinizing. And I think this, the FTC is powerful.
Oh, yeah.
The FTC is powerful. And I know that they're already bringing up stuff to come after Xbox. And this is just literally just giving them the weapon and the bullet to take care of Microsoft. So, have fun in court, because that's where it's going to go back to and everything.
Yeah. And I mean, and also to kind of put a bow on this too, um, what was I going? Where was I going with this? It. You're right. It doesn't make it any less worse about who got laid off. At the same time, we just need to get like you said. Oh, that's where I was going with. Sorry, FTC. Like, I wonder if we're going to see any more big acquisitions, or just acquisitions. Period. Like, I think we see like smaller level stuff, like Tencent buying up a lot of these B, C, D, and D tier studios. Like, that's going to be fine. But like PlayStation acquiring Insomniac, Microsoft acquiring Bethesda, I really think now, because of Microsoft's faux pas, the FTC is going to make it hard for these acquisitions to go, scrutinize so much how these acquisitions go through, that I think it's going to scare everyone else from opening their pocketbooks and buying up these studios. But that could also be a double-edged sword, because these studios that are on the verge of maybe closing their doors, that maybe be relying on an acquisition, might have to suffer a closure and even more layoffs. Yep. Because the FTC, but again, you can blame the FTC. It's at the end of the day, Microsoft screwed the pooch and made it to where no one can enjoy this anymore now.
So the question is, Derek, was Jim Ryan right?
You hate to see it and you hate to admit it. But two old sayings come to mind. Every dog has their day, and a broken clock is right twice a day. So you can still be a jerk and make a point every now and then. So yes, was he still a jerk on how he wanted to go about it? They're just saying, like, I don't care about your deals. I just want to block your merger. Yes, it was very tongue in cheek and poor taste of how to do it. But did he have a point at the end of the day? Yeah, looking at it now, he did.
Yeah, all these people still have jobs.
Yep.
Let's move on to our second story of the evening. Ubisoft shares drop again. This is the second time in the last few weeks. Investors urge the company to change current management and to go private.
It's in another world. Ubisoft is riding high after just releasing Star Wars Outlaws, with Assassin's Creed Shadows set to cement 2024 as a banger year for the company. That's not this world, though. Instead, Outlaws has reportedly failed to meet expectations, and the company's share prices have once again dropped for the second time in the last 5 days, keeping them near an all-time low. Putting the pressure on even more is a new open letter from hedge fund AJ Investments, in which the minority shareholder urges the company to, in so many words, get the Guillemot family out, get new management in, and privatize the company through an acquisition. To be clear, the changes proposed in the letter aren't about making Ubisoft a better studio or empowering it to make better games. They're all proposed with the idea that shareholders will be able to get even more money from their investments. The letter calls the current state of Ubisoft mismanaged, and that shareholders are hostages of the Guillemot family members and Tencent who is taking advantage of them. It also threatens to start a proxy fight and alleges that the Guillemot family and Tencent are purposely plummeting the share price of the studio to buy shares at a lower cost and take a majority position within the company. AJ Investments believes that with minority shareholders owning about 70% of the company, they can convince enough of them to challenge Guillemot and get him and his family out of the company. Again, it should be noted that this is all meant to be in service of shareholders making more money, not Ubisoft being a better game studio. Yves Guillemot has by no means been a perfect leader. Ubisoft's own devs have called for his resignation many times before, but part of AJ Investments' proposal in the open letter is to be even more aggressive with cost cutting, which will mean more layoffs. Ultimately, AJ Investments describes wanting a leader who will be the cold, calculating, shareholder optimizing type that only does what's best for shareholders. And originally when I saw this, I'm like, maybe like just reading the headline, right? I was like, this doesn't sound so bad. Like it is time. I think it is time for Gives to move on. But then reading this, it's like, oh, this is a worse idea than what's going on right now.
Yeah.
Now, yes, is there worry about them purposely plummeting the shares to buy it up to basically fight off AJ Investments and like they fought off Vivendi to keep it in house? That's not. I could see that, and that's not such a bad idea. But this proposed way of AJ Investments going about like just changing it to basically put more money in the pocket goes back to our previous story that we just talked about. And it's like, why are we doing this? Like, let's lay off more people so we can put more money in our pockets, because that makes sense. And like, we'll get to like in one of the PlayStation stories, it talks about layoffs again, like how the games industry is viewed, like how it's not corporate greed. I'm like, this clearly shows that it's all about corporate greed if it's to be true. And it's just maddening. It's just like, at least they're being open about it. That's all I can say. But man, it's not good for Ubisoft.
No, it's definitely not. And welcome to the show, friend and caller, Bo Knows Gaming.
What up, Bo?
What's up, guys? It's good to be here. Glad to see you.
Now,
we're
Bo,
glad that you're here too, bud.
How would you turn around Ubisoft? What would be your plan?
My plan, gosh, you're asking me to fix a multi-million-dollar company? No
pressure.
Yeah. Right now, go.
Well, okay, so I don't know. I had some thoughts a little bit ago when you're talking about Xbox, and maybe this fits into here somehow, but you were saying that, I think Derek was saying that these companies that are about to go under, like that need to be bought, they're not going to get bought. But I look at it and I say, the ones that are about to go under, they're getting bought, and then they're just getting shut down anyway. So if you're on your own, and you like, I feel like you have a better chance if you don't get bought at this stage in the game, because these big corporations are not helping you. They're actually, like, look at the studio that made Hi-Fi Rush. They made an amazing award-winning game, and then Xbox is just like, oh, see you later.
Thanks, but no thanks.
Yeah.
But before that, it's like, hey, we're going to make you multi-platform and then close you down.
Well, right. And Toys for Bob, like, thankfully they got out.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that if you're on your own, at least you have a chance to fight, right? At least you have a chance to make something amazing and try to, keep your company working and moving forward. But if you're under the whims of corporate CEOs to just shut you down at the snap of a finger, then you don't have a fighting chance, So I think maybe it's better to just not to be independent than to be owned by one of these larger, Sony or Microsoft, whichever one, right. Pick your poison. But and two, I think when you're under those big umbrellas, they are going to dictate a lot of the direction that you go in a lot of times. And I think that's how sometimes a lot of games end up looking very similar in their structure and in their I don't know how to say, live serviceness. Is because those corporate people want those games, and they just keep doubling down on betting on them. But I guess they think if they have one that's successful, then it's worth the 20 that weren't. They can make the money back. But I don't know that that's true. At some point, that can't be true. But yeah, I had some other thought. Oh, about Xbox. You asked, was Jim Ryan right? And this, I'm not trying to defend anybody. I'm just like trying to see it from a different angle. When you remember how long it took them to acquire Activision Blizzard? It was 2 years plus, right? It was over 2 years. Right. And so Xbox had put all their eggs in the Game Pass basket. They were like, that was it. That was their Hail Mary. Like we're betting everything on Game Pass to succeed, and there's gonna be 100 million subscribers or whatever they thought they were gonna get, because it can be everywhere. And they kind of abandoned, even though they're not admitting it, they kind of abandoned marketing their consoles and just kept paying to put games on Game Pass, because they thought if we have the volume there, people will buy into it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think when they started this Activision acquisition, I think it's possible that they believed what they were saying was true, that their argument that, hey, we're going to keep Call of Duty everywhere, and we're not going to be too big, we're not going to be a monopoly, all these claims that they made.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if they believed them then, but then the further into this generation we got, the more they were like, oh, we can't make this work anymore. But what do you do at that point? Your legal team has already made these arguments. You've already, gone under oath and said these things. You can't just change your tune at that point. So I do wonder if something like that happened behind the scenes, where they're like, okay, things are shifting. Things are not turning out like we thought they were.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to have to make some adjustments. And I think they dug themselves into a hole with this Game Pass thing and abandoning exclusives, not abandoning exclusives, abandoning kind of the console itself. And to the point where we get to now, and I don't know that they have a choice except to sell Indiana Jones on the PlayStation 5.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I think that's the point that they're at. What I'm curious about is, so suddenly we have no true console exclusives with Xbox anymore, but I wonder if that's going to be just for this generation. Could they come out next generation swinging and really go back to pushing the hardware and pushing console exclusives? But right now they're in a hole and they've got to get out of it. And the only way they can see to get out of it is to find a different market to sell their games to. Now, as far as Ubisoft goes, that is just a hot mess, and I don't know how they can. I don't know how they can fix it. I think that they need to. Well, look, I don't want this to turn into some kind of political debate or something, but I do think that they have some agendas that they're pushing, and they just need to stop and focus on making fun games. Like, just focus on making fun games like you used to. Man, Mario plus Rabbids, that's a fun game. Make some more games like that. And you know what? I think you'll be fine. But make some more Assassin's Creed 2s. Not like Assassin's Creed 2, but that game was so innovative at the time. But then they just took that formula and they kept multiplying it across all their games.
Right. And that's what I talked about with Zach last week, right? About how I feel like Outlaws, the stealth missions are just kind of shoehorned in from Assassin's Creed. And I know they're talking about how there's insta-fail in the stealth missions, and they're trying to patch that out. But it's it feels like Assassin's Creed Star Wars in certain points from what I've played. And I'm like, that's not what I want. If I want Assassin's Creed, I'll go play Assassin's Creed.
Well, and they're the makers of Splinter Cell.
Right.
You should know how to do stealth. You should know how to do a stealth game. Put that in there.
They haven't made one since 2013, so they forgot.
Yeah.
And that's the problem. That's what I'm saying. They doubled down on that go to the tower, climb the tower formula, and then you'll have more of the map, and then you'll have all these other things to do. They just kept doubling down on that, and they forgot how to be creative. I really think that's it. I think it's part of it.
And then it's and I also talked about last week about they need to get back to like what you said, the old Ubisoft. It's because I felt after they got done with the UbiArt, the Ubiplay games, the Child of Light, the Valiant
Child of Light
was
so good.
It was. And when they got away from doing those type of games, I felt like that's when they lost their way, because then they just focused on big AAA games that wanted to make the money. And then of course, when live service took over the world, that's when they went and said, all right, we're going to put even our single player games like Assassin's Creed, we're going to find a way to put live service elements in there. And I think it ruined them, because I used to be a big, ever since I played Far Cry 3, used to be a big Ubisoft proponent for their games. Far Cry 3 and Assassin's Creed 1 and 2, but that's before I knew. I just played Assassin's Creed for Assassin's Creed. That's before I knew them as Ubisoft. And then once I played Far Cry 3, I tried other things like Division, Ghost Recon, that kind of things, and it really turned my eye to Ubisoft as a company because they were making great games. Now I feel embarrassed every time I boot up a Ubisoft game, or if I like playing Shadows will be different, but like booting up a Ubisoft game does not give me the same sense of enjoyment as it did back in the day.
It did a decade ago.
Yeah.
It doesn't. And I think it's crazy that they have 2 games that should have been grand slams for them coming out in the same year, and Outlaws isn't performing that well. And I've been seeing rumors that Assassin's Creed pre-sales are not very good either.
Oof.
So
the one that everyone's waited for, and they're going to ruin it before it even releases.
I think people are just tired because Ubisoft, to Derek's point, they got rid of like the arts games, the things that kind of push their creativity, and then they just doubled down, tripled down, quadrupled down on franchises. Like Ubisoft is the 1-to-1 correlation of the movie industry, where they find a franchise, say Star Wars or Marvel, and they just keep hammering it. And the people that used to like it, they're like, I'm good. I need to take a break from this. And they're like, no, you want more. And it's like, I think I'm good right now. And it's like, don't you want a spin off of it? And then they just keep hammering it. And it's like, you run these franchises in the ground, and then no one wants to buy them. No one wants to invest in them. And it's across the board. Assassin's Creed. You've got Just Dance, Ghost Recon, Siege, all the things that like just keep coming out. But then you have things like Rayman. You never see Rayman. And then you've also got Splinter Cell. You never see Splinter Cell. Like there are so many things that just don't come out anymore.
Was Rayman Legends the last Rayman game to come out?
Yep.
And that was in 2013. Was it 2014? I thought it was 13, but it doesn't matter. It was a long time ago. Yeah. Like that is a franchise character. That's the face of a company, Rayman.
Yep.
Like that could be a really good, and they're just not using it.
That could have been their Astrobot.
Right. Exactly. It could be their Mario or their Astrobot. Yeah, absolutely. And they're just ignoring it completely. And then you like Watch Dogs. Watch Dogs, like the first Watch Dogs had a pretty good, like there was an idea there. And I think that they could have developed on that in a different way that would have made it better, but they just kind of ruined it and then abandoned it. And Splinter Cell, I mean, gosh, Splinter Cell, I don't understand. I don't know like what the data is on game sales for Splinter Cell, but I feel like that was a huge mistake, leaving that alone for the last 10 years.
Yep. Agreed.
Like they just kept funneling more and more of their people and more of their money into Assassin's Creed and Far Cry, and forgot about everything else.
keeps letting us know every once in a while, be like, hey, we're still hard at work trying to make Splinter Cell the game you want. It's like, cool, quit telling me and just do it.
Right.
Looking at VG charts, don't know how accurate this is. First, Splinter Cell 6 million. Pandora tomorrow 2.8, 2.5 million for Chaos Theory, which Chaos Theory was great, but that was at launch. None for Double Agent. Conviction 1.9 and Blacklist 2 million. So there was definitely a fall off from the first to the second, but I think with today's marketing and everything, you could get even more because there are more gamers now than there were. Back then.
That's true. And
see the hype for Metal Gear.
Yeah. Did they even market? I mean, how much did they really market Splinter Cell? Like,
fair.
Honestly, like,
not really.
Not as much as Assassin's Creed or Far Cry.
No.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever seen a Splinter Cell commercial.
Yeah. It's kind of crazy. And like to this AJ Investments, like wanting someone cold, calculating, and like shareholder focused. Like, yeah, you're going to make more quote unquote more money, you're going to be able to squeeze more water out of the rag. But when you get to the point, the consumer will eventually stop buying. Like,
Right.
I am a hardcore Star Wars fan, and I'm not watching stuff anymore. Like, it's just none of it interests me at this point. And it's just gotten worse and worse. Same thing with Marvel. Like, I think everybody and their grandmother liked Marvel, and then it's less and less, you know. I know Derek really loved the Scrolls TV show. He's just loved that one.
That was for me. That was rock bottom for them. Like, it was like, especially coming off, because I think I watched the third Ant-Man movie right before Secret Invasion came out. I'm like, oh, I need to wash this out. I need to wash this bad taste out of my mouth. But yeah, no, and I agree, because it's like, if you find someone who's just a straight businessman, you're not going to get the product you want. And it's like, oh, cool. We want someone who does investments. It's like, okay, cool. If you hire people who only makes games that are going to want to be major sales pitches and fatten the pockets, people aren't going to buy those, because it's just going to be a by the numbers game. Yep. And that's going to appeal to no one. And it's going to plummet the shares even worse.
I do think part of the problem too with them specifically is that, you know, for a long time they would put out a game and then 3 months later it would be half price. And everybody got used to that.
Yeah.
And we expect that now. And they haven't been doing that in the last couple of years. Like, the Prince of Persia game is still often, I mean, most of the time, still $30 or $30 or $40. And that game was really good. You played that game, didn't you, Zach?
Yeah,
it's an excellent game.
Yeah,
it should have sold a lot, but you know, I think a lot of people were waiting for it to be 10. You know, because it was a side scroller. You know, go on sale for $10 or something, and they haven't done that. And but they did that to themselves, because that's the expectation of the consumer now. So I think that's part of their problem as well. Like, Nintendo's not having any trouble selling games for $60 because they never put their games on sale.
No,
you know,
true.
But Ubisoft does.
And Nintendo, you know, God love them, they know how to manage their franchises and come up with interesting ways of building different games around them.
Yeah, that's true.
Like, you've got all the sports ones, then you've got, you know, Luigi's Mansion. Like, there's like, how many Mario games are there out there? There's a billion, but they all, like, it's like, yeah, you're still playing as Mario. There's still foundational things, but you go from Mario, a side scroller, to an RPG. That's huge.
Right. Mario, you got Mario Party, right? You've got Mario Party, but then you've got Mario Golf. Like, those are different kinds of games.
Yeah.
Then you got Mario Kart. Like, they're all, and then, like you said, Luigi's Mansion, which is kind of like a spinoff, but it's a totally different kind of game, and it's an incredible game. So, yeah, they do a really good job with that. It's true. So I don't know. Another thought about Ubisoft, I guess, is something that they could try is take some of these franchises that they clearly do not care about and just license them out to smaller devs to make games out of them. You don't want to make a Rayman game? Well, let this other developer license Rayman's name and make a Rayman game for you. And then you don't take on any of the risk, really, because clearly you don't care about the character anyway.
Right.
But you get paid for somebody else to make the game instead of you having to pay to make the game. I guess they could try that and see if that works, you know?
Yeah.
Help them out.
Kind of do what Disney has done with their franchises since they closed down their, like, game development over the, you know, last 10 years.
Yeah.
Guys, I know Ubisoft is struggling right now, but you want to help a small, independent, USA-based company. Guys, make sure to subscribe to the NerdCave News on podcast services around the globe, and all we're on YouTube. It helps us out. It's their only way of marketing is you subscribing and giving us a 5-star review. And, like, if you don't do it, then we're gonna have to take Garrick out back and beat him with a pool noodle.
Hold on now. Hold on
we're
now.
gonna have to beat him with a pool noodle,
man.
guys. So go over there, subscribe to us, and make sure you subscribe here on YouTube for more awesome content just like this one. It's time for some PlayStation news. First up, the PlayStation 5 Pro has been officially revealed, and oh, buddy.
I know I didn't watch your video, but I saw you made a video on your thoughts, Zach. We'll get to that in a minute. Let me just let me get into this. PS5 Pro is real, and it will release on November 7th, making just over 4 years since the release of the original PlayStation 5 console. We know it's real because we've just spent the last 9 minutes listening to the dulcet tones of Sony's tech guru architect unveil the thing. Beyond the ASMR implications of listening to Mark Cerny, the PS5 Pro reveal broke down what we can expect from Sony's mid-generation refresh. Put simply, here are all the confirmed PS5 Pro details below. Of course, the release date is November 7th, like we said. Price point is going to be this is going to be the hot topic, is $700, and very much denotes a console that is arguably going to be a niche product, much like the PlayStation 4 Pro before it. Pre-orders will open on September 26th, so that is just 2 weeks away. The disk drive. PS5 Pro will not ship with a disk drive, but it can be bought separately. However, the PS5 Pro does ship with a 2 terabyte SSD. The look, in addition to Mark Cerny going in on the technical capabilities of the PS5 Pro, we were also given the first proper official look at the new console too. And when you know it, that the rumored form factor, which echoes the PS5 Slim design, but with a wider base and thin Wolverine-style slice marks down the sides, are pretty much bang on. The specs, now, they did have a full breakdown. I'm going to let you can read that on your own. The only thing of note from that is, according to Cerny, the PS5 Pro boasts 45% more rendering capacity than the current PS5 console. Then they introduced some of the actual upgrades for the console. The first being the PlayStation Spectral Super Resolution. For PS5 Pro, Sony has confirmed that its mid-gen console refresh will support something called PSSR, which is essentially Sony's own proprietary take on the upscaling and image reconstruction techniques that are already used by hardware vendors such as AMD and NVIDIA. Already deployed in a software fashion thanks to the checkerboard rendering approach that was taken with PS4 Pro upgraded titles and some PS5 games, the thought here is that this upscaling work would be improved by the PS5 Pro performing it at a hardware level in a similar fashion to NVIDIA's DLSS solution, resulting in better results, whereupon games that are upscaled to 4K resolution or beyond would look much more indistinguishable from their native counterparts. Powered by a bespoke AI machine learning block on the PS5 Pro Silicon, where PSSR is employed to raise the perceived screen resolution to 4K from a much lower resolution. Developers will gain access to much more of the PS5 Pro's power that would normally have been spent trying to get games running in native 4K, with no discernible visual difference when compared to a game running at 4K via PSSR. To demonstrate, Mark Cerny showed off The Last of Us Part 2, Marvel's Spider-Man 2, and Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart, resulting in a dynamic where players can get performance-level frame rates at 60 FPS or higher, along with a higher level of detail that you wouldn't normally get in fidelity mode. Lastly, we get improved ray tracing. Alongside handling image and resolution upscaling at a hardware level, the PS5 Pro will boast a similar hardware block to exclusively deal with processing advanced ray-traced visuals. This is crucial for a forward-facing system, thanks in no small part to the fact that ray tracing is an extremely intensive rendering technique that taxes the GPU horrendously, and this is already evidenced by the use of ray tracing in the PS5 games, where visual trade-offs in resolution, visual fidelity, and sometimes frame rate are apparent. With PS5 Pro, ray tracing is being entirely accommodated by specific hardware within the console set aside just for that, meaning that the PS5 Pro GPU could then be free to worry about other stuff, improving texture resolution, level of detail drawn in, improving frame rates, and all that other lovely stuff. There are additional dimensions to this as well. Zach, I know, of course, the hot topic is a $700 price point. I get all the arguments from both sides about with inflation and blah, 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 blah. I know you said you were going to watch the presentation. I know I didn't see the video, but I know you did a reaction video to it. What are your original thoughts, or what are your thoughts on this overall?
This is definitely a piece of hardware that is meant for the
Tech
people
heads.
the people that love tech. And if you're wanting this, I know a lot of people, like, even I want to say PlayStation came out and said this. It's like, hey, if you really want this, trade in your PS5 Pro and you'll get it for half off now. And I'm like, or if you don't have that money, get a refurbished PS5 for half the price. The AI and everything is interesting. Watch Bo's breakdown as well on his channel. The way they showed that off was kind of weird. I wonder,
super weird.
It was like really like in the middle.
Did you notice how? So they would cut the image down, darken the size, and show you like the middle section, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then some of the games they would zoom in a little bit. Like I think Ratchet and Clank, they zoomed in a decent amount to the crowd. Yeah. But then on Spider-Man, they didn't zoom in at all.
Yeah.
Did you notice that?
Yeah.
They like you're supposed to look at a tree and some cars on the street or whatever, and it did not zoom in at all on the two images side by side.
Huh.
And like that was really strange. And they're like, can you see the difference? And I'm like, no, not really.
Right.
The only one that I could tell a difference is Last of Us Part 2, because I'm literally playing that right now. But that was the clearest version of it. The ray tracing looks great though.
Hogwarts Legacy looked incredible. It did.
That part where it's like it goes into the Great Hall and like all like that. I was like, oh man,
I agree.
The fidelity mode on the PS4, PS5 Pro running at 60 frames per second compared to the original running at 30.
Right.
Like that's super cool. And like again, Last of Us Part 2 looks so much better on that. Is it $700 better? I don't think so. But again, this is a very niche thing. Derek, I know you bought the PS4 Pro. Like, what was that like thought process for you last generation? Like, was that something like, oh, I gotta have this?
Well, okay. So with mid-generation refreshes for me, right? Because it's only been like it's technically started in the PS2 era, right? Like where we got a slim and PS3, like my thing is like if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So I run my consoles into the ground. Like I had the OG PS3 backwards compatible. It had the yellow light of death. Thanks God of War Ascension. So
I was playing it that one time,
right
online,
and so I was forced. I got a slim PS3 only because I needed a console. The PS4 Pro, like this is the PS5 Pro is like my original thought process with the PS4 Pro. It wasn't enough to justify me spending more money. Now, yes, the PS4 Pro ended up being the original cost of the OG PS4 by the time it came out. So, but I wasn't enticed to spend $400 again until they did a special limited edition God of War PS4 Pro. That was the only way reason I bought one is like, all right, cool. I'm going to get God of War is my favorite franchise. Let me just get this. PS5 Pro, because they're not really doing limited edition consoles, like they're doing faceplates, but they're not really doing consoles, doesn't really entice me. Like I know they're even doing controllers, but still, it does not move the needle. Like I talked about it last week because you asked me, Zach, like will I be interested in getting a PS5 Pro? I'm like no, and like I said, and to ruin a PlayStation quickie, they took a poll, and only about 10 to 15% of people who took the poll are interested in getting a PS5 Pro. And now, and like you said, is $700 better? No, not arguably not. And I know, like, again, it's very niche. This is a mid-console refresh. If this was a new console generation, still, yes, $700 is a lot. But at least you're coming in with a new hardware, new games to play on it, and like you get more out of your games. With this just being a mid-generation, it's the same system, just with slightly better improvements. It's like, I know it's not a great comparison, but it's like the new iPhone every year, right? There's like small incremental things for more of a price. And it's like
$1,000.
Yeah, nope, I'm good. I'll wait till my iPhone runs into the ground or becomes obsolete and then get a new one. That's how I view everything in my life with tech, because it's a major. because it's a major investment, and I'm going to get the most out of my money.
I think that's wise. I think that's really wise. I mean, and just to be content with what you have is I think a virtue. But but I will say this: one, Apple has not raised their iPhone prices in quite a few years. Two, I think that the PS5 Pro is a trap. I think it is a trap. And the reason that can you hear me? Am I okay? I feel like I'm lagging.
Yeah, you're good. You're good. You're good.
Okay. I think it's a trap because that article you just read said you could buy a disk drive. They're all sold out. They're all sold out on Best Buy and Amazon. And so right now, no, you can't. And then even if you did, then you're spending $780. And then if you want the vertical stand that is in all the marketing images for this thing, you got to pay another $30 on top of that. So now you're at $810.
Right.
And then you got to add taxes to that. So now you're at, depending on where you live, you're at almost $900.
Yeah.
And then depending on what part of the world you live in, it could be over $1,000 for this console. At which point, why are you not just buying a PC? Something that you can upgrade over time if you want to or need to. Now, and take your games with you. Now, here's what really gets my goat about the disc drive part is that console gamers are in a really tricky situation. PC gamers don't care because they've been buying things digitally for years, and and Steam is most likely not going to close down anytime in the near future, right? It's sitting in a pretty good spot, I feel like. But every time we start a new console generation, those digital stores shut down. They shut down the store, and then you can't unless your games have carried over to the new store, you can't play those games anymore. If you have them on disc, you can, but then if you don't have a disc drive, you can't. So if you want a PS5 Pro and you want to play your PS4 games on it, you've got to get a disc drive.
But Bo, they can also do the retro stuff and bring it back, but also going to charge egregious prices for the nostalgia.
Exactly. And you can have that game sitting on your shelf and not ever be able to play it again. And they're not going to keep making those disc drives.
No, they're not. And I mean,
they want you to go all digital, and they want to get rid of physical media. And the reason they want to do that is so they can control the prices. If the only place you can get a PlayStation game is on the PlayStation Store, then there is no reason for them to ever run a sale of any kind, or they have you hostage.
Right.
Well, and the share goes directly to them.
Yeah, and it all goes to them, right?
Instead of having, GameStop, Walmart, Target,
right, exactly,
and the developer, then PlayStation gets a cut. It's cutting out that middleman, and then it's just PlayStation, and then whoever the developer was,
right?
So.
And then, but then they essentially do have a monopoly. They're controlling everything at that point, and and then it raises this question for me too: is what will the PS6 be priced if we buy into the PS5 Pro?
I was literally thinking that if there is enough warrant of people that gets the PS5 Pro at $700, it's saying that, hey, we're willing to pay this, because PlayStation also this week raised the price of the DualShock controllers without, announcing it or anything. It was just like, boom, they're more expensive now. And I know that, inflation and all of this, but I do think it is a social experiment. I kind of agree with Bo here. It's like, all right, this is more powerful, more this and that. And Dan brought this up. He's like, I bought a custom built gaming PC for the amount of money that the PlayStation 5 Pro is.
Yeah.
And I know that PC is going to be way more powerful than the PlayStation 5 Pro. Quick caveat, you can still get the disc drive on a PlayStation's actual website, though.
Okay.
Did want to put that out there.
Okay.
But yeah, this is kind of crazy, and I think this is just for the people that have play money, and I ain't one of those.
It's going to have to be, because the people that aren't going to be able to buy it. It's just too much.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, and I said in my video, it's like just like the PS4 Pro, that is the base, the very minimum of what the next console generation is going to be. So whatever the PlayStation 5 comes in with, you know, PlayStation Super sampling, Super Saiyan rate, like it's going to have that in the PS6.
Yeah.
So start saving up now.
Yeah.
So when the PlayStation 6 comes out, you have the money to be able to buy it instead of putting yourself in a bind when bacon is, you know, your firstborn child. You know, it's you know, it's like you got to be smart about these things.
Yeah.
You know, go listen to some Dave Ramsey.
Here's a question for you. Next spring, will Indiana Jones look better and run better on the PS5 Pro than it does on the Series X?
Well,
I mean, there's already games. I mean, let's be fair.
Will it be an enhanced edition?
well, and that's the thing is like they were showing it's like this is not a flip of the switch kind of thing. Just putting it on there, like the developers have to do extra work. So I don't know if Xbox is going to go to that extra work.
Well, and
I don't know.
I see a weekly thing on PSUniverse.com anyway about games that are outperforming on Series X anyway. So there are games that come to just regular PS5 that are looking better than on the Series X and S anyway. So I mean, the simple answer is yes, it will be. But also the answer is like how much better will it look on the PS5 Pro? But also at the same time, people aren't going to. Not all of us are going to be looking at that. They're just going to be like, play it where whatever console you own it on.
Yeah. Just a quick throw this out there.
Yeah.
How do you think Nintendo is acting right now when PlayStation is this like, yeah, I literally had this argument with one of my friends at work. I was like, yeah, the Switch 2 needs to be, you know, just more powerful. And then PlayStation comes out and they make a more powerful version of their console. And I'm like, well, that's not very fun. And like, and then Switch is going to come out. It's going to be literally half the price, if not more, like less than what the PS5 Pro is. And they are going to utterly wipe the floor with the PS5 Pro.
Oh yeah.
Oh, for sure. They're going to sell more than the PS5 Pro, no doubt. I am concerned that it's just going to be a repeat of this last time around where the Switch was really cool and I love my Switch, but all of these third-party games that come to it, it's
Trash.
It's rough. It's rough.
Yeah.
And I think that we're just headed for another 7 years of the same thing is what I think we're going to be into, especially now with the PS5 Pro and I think that I kind of think that at Xbox, you know, it's looking like Xbox will probably have something out in probably 2026. So just like maybe a year after the Switch 2 comes out, we could see a more powerful Xbox as well, at which point, you know, it's just going to end up being the same thing. And a lot of people are thinking that Switch 2 is going to be able to do 4K, upscale to 4K when it's docked. And I just don't know, man. I don't know that they care about that enough to do it.
They don't. And I think they're more interested in getting the most bang out of their buck. Because they can make their games look great other than Pokemon. I am not talking about Pokemon. Pokemon runs like hot garbage on those consoles.
They kind of run independently, sort of, from Nintendo anyway.
Yeah. But when it comes down to it, we are getting a new update on Xbox's console this, you know, winter. We're getting the diskless and the 2 terabyte version of it. But how long was it between PS4 Pro and PS5, Derek?
It was about 3 to 4 years, because I want to say the PS4, I think, because it was like the Slim came out 1 year and then the Pro came out. I think the Slim came out 16, the Pro was 17.
Okay.
Yeah, I was thinking it was 17 for the One X as well, wasn't it?
Yeah,
didn't they come out the same year?
Yeah, the One X and the PS4 Pro came out the same year.
Yeah.
Murdoch says over on Twitch, I mean, PC are here to stay, so why play the console games anymore? Title exclusive was the only reason to. But these days, they release on all platforms now. the market is too futile not to.
Yeah.
I don't think it's too futile not to. I think they've made their budgets too big to be able to make their money back. And I think that's part of why Nintendo is so successful, is because their budgets are a lot smaller on their games,
Right.
because they're not going for these hyper realistic 4K, whatever games.
Whereas Sony and Xbox, they, especially with Xbox, like putting their games on Game Pass to recoup that cost, they have to put it on PC, and then now they're putting it on PlayStation and Switch for some of their games. Whereas PlayStation is just like, hey, our games sell well on PlayStation. Mm-hmm. What would they do if we sold them on PC? And you're seeing a lot of these games find a second life on there.
Absolutely. And some people double dipping, right? Because they know they can get a better experience on PC.
Like next week, God of War Ragnarok drops on PC. I'm ecstatic to see how that's going to sell.
I almost want to get it for PC and play with my PlayStation controller.
I must say, now that your boy has a new computer,
get that ray tracing, that DLSS up in here. Let's see what we got, boys. But I really want Murdoch to play it, but he won't. I think it is just like most consoles do not make money, especially in the beginning of their cycles.
Oh yeah.
But not everything comes in day and date. Like Helldivers was a kind of a,
Yeah. Well, that they are inching towards that. Sony is. I think they want to put things out day and date on PC.
Yes and no, because I think they enjoy like teasing and getting that market hyped up. Murdoch, even I was introduced to Horizon on PC. I'm in that market. Murdoch, since you're a PC player, does if day and date happened with PlayStation games, would you be more ecstatic? I don't know.
I don't know either. I do think that everything that's going on though with Xbox and PlayStation specifically, I think it's making people do a double take at the PC, right?
Yeah.
It's pushing people towards PC. Even people who have always been console gamers and don't want to play on a PC, I think are now looking, well, you know what? PC's maybe not such a bad idea.
Well, I will say PC gaming is too freaking complicated. That is the nice thing about console games.
Right.
I don't have to update my RAM. I ain't got to boot up my drivers. I ain't got to do all of this stuff. My mouse is over here not wanting to scroll up and down. Murdoch, if you could tell me why my mouse won't scroll up and down on this stupid Windows 11, I would love to hear that. But with a console, it just turns on. And I will say this, because Xbox has put it on PC first, their consoles aren't selling.
I know.
And PlayStation really loves to be the number one.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So
It's true. And I say what I said, but I also don't know that they have the manpower or the infrastructure to release stuff day and date on PC. I'm not sure that they could do that even if they wanted to, but I do think at some point we will see a PlayStation Store game launcher on PC.
Ooh,
I do think that they will at least want to get away from Steam so they don't have to take a cut.
Yeah. Well, and that goes to Murdoch's point. He's like, he said, yes, because I'm so mad I bought digital PSN games and then they released them on PC later. So if they had a digital storefront of their own, a launcher, then all of those PlayStation games would essentially run on PC.
Hope. Yeah.
You would hope, but I don't know if they would do that, backwards and everything. And he says, how cool would Ghost be on PC?
I've got Ghost on my wish list. I want to play. It is on the Steam store. It's on my wish list. I just can't buy it again at full price.
Fair.
I can't make myself do it again at full price.
Zach would, because that's Zach's game of the
I'm over here thinking, I'm like, I gotta finish Astrobot before I touch anything else first. Let's jump into our next little bit of Sony drama. Ex-Sony Europe boss says industry layoffs aren't due to corporate greed, suggests those affected should drive an Uber.
What a terrible take. Chris Deering, former president of Sony Computer Entertainment Europe.
Former. There's a reason.
Yeah, former, told My Perfect Console that recent industry layoffs aren't driven by corporate greed. He suggested affected workers might need to, quote, drive an Uber or whatever to get through the tough times. Deering noted that he always tried to avoid rapid staff increases to prevent issues like those Sony faced in its electronics division. He acknowledged the layoffs, including those at SIE London's studio, and said, quote, if the money isn't coming in from the last game, it's going to be hard to justify spending the money for the next game. While acknowledging the pain for managers, Deering emphasized that game development skills still offer opportunities despite current challenges. He advised staying informed and adaptable, even if it means taking temporary jobs or making lifestyle changes. The games industry has seen over 11,500 job losses in the past 18 months, with Sony alone cutting about 900 positions in February. What a terrible take. Now, yes, are there people in this world that make horrible financial decisions and don't know how to spend their money? Of course. Yeah. But to basically say, oh, well, you got laid off, maybe you should do this instead, or no shade to Uber, because they do their thing. But to say you drive something as asinine as drive an Uber, it's just like, bro, what closed-minded thinking we live in. And he's like, it's not due to corporate greed. Well, if you scroll up if you rewind the video back about an hour ago when we're talking about Xbox, it's like, no, this was definitely to pad their stats. And to the next story with Ubisoft, it's like, hey, maybe we should make it private and get rid of the management so we can focus on people who want to raise the share prices and increase investor funding. It's like, you say it's not, but then we have two instances where it is. So which is it? Are you maybe in Europe it's not, but here in America it is. And it's like, it just boggles my mind that someone it's like, who are you having these conversations with? And what type of leader were you in the PlayStation Europe division that you probably were a dictator that ran with an iron fist and probably had some stuff go on behind the scenes and you were forced out. I don't know.
Well, let's not speculate on that side of things with alleging anything.
well, if we throw in stones at glass houses, game is game. Fair is fair, in my opinion.
I agree with, I actually kind of agree with something he said in here. If the money isn't coming in from the last game, it's going to be hard to justify spending the money for the next game. That's just business 101.
Well, right.
You need to have revenue. There needs to be cash flow and all of that. But Sony was really, really bad at managing their studios for a very long time.
Also true.
And then they were tightening down and doing all of this kind of stuff. And it's like, you can't just whiplash people. You need to be consistent. And if there is that, there needs to be reason. But I do agree with if the money isn't there, but drive an Uber or whatever. It's like, how about y'all stop mismanaging studios?
Correct.
And we wouldn't have this problem. Mm-hmm. Why did you let Dreams take 10 years? And it's this kind of, it's like, we mismanaged and now we're going to fire people because
you just can't do that. You just can't. Games, they have to figure out how to make these games come out quicker.
Yeah.
It's killing them.
Well, and AA space, man, AA games were some of my favorite games on the PlayStation 2. They were so good. Were they amazing? No, but they were just fun. They had interesting things go on in them. And now we don't get those hardly ever, other than Focus Entertainment. Those are the only AA games we get now, and they're actually interesting.
Yeah, we really don't. It's it's either an indie game or it's AAA, and there's nothing in the middle. And
then you get quadruple A with Ubisoft.
Oh, let's not.
A quadruple A disappointment.
Yeah, I feel like this dude is a little out of touch on things. Plus, driving Uber and all of that, it's really hard to make money on the gig economy. Hard skills are definitely where it's at, and as I get my finances in order, I suggest go watching Dave Ramsey. Just saying. Just saying. Do y'all want to add anything to that?
No, other than just as like, don't give comments like these the time of day after this. Like, yes,
Yeah.
it's like there's obviously going to be people like throwing shade at him now after this. There's a reason why he's a former president, but after this is like, don't give him any more interviews. Like, especially don't post about it. Like, anyway, that's just my thought. It's like, all right, go back into your hole, you gremlin.
Yeah, I'm trying to see why he was laid off, or
why he's no longer
I
why
just
he's
can't.
an ex.
I just can't
I
stop
can't find
thinking
it.
about the budget. Like you've got to operate within your budget. You just have
Yeah.
to. And
Right.
so, and you've got to think, okay, we've got this great idea. Here's how much it's an old IP. It's a new IP. Here's how much we think we can sell, and stop trying to cover your butt with these microtransactions and live service stuff. Make a game that you can make a profit on from the sale of the game.
Right.
Mhm.
And then if there's some other way to monetize it that makes sense within the context of that game, then okay. But not every game needs that.
No.
Yeah.
And if you just made a game, you just stick to a budget and make the game within that budget, then you don't have to rely on those things that everybody hates.
Yep.
That give your game a bad
100%.
reputation.
Yep.
And a lot of times with those games, you know what I think. Part of why I think Kill the Justice League failed is because you could tell that it wasn't made to be fun. It was made to make money.
Mhm.
Yep. Same
And
thing with
people can
Concord.
smell that. It's the same way with Concord. Yeah, people can smell that, and they don't like it.
Yep.
And they don't support it.
Yeah.
Oh, but it's not corporate greed. It's just bad business. Like, it has nothing to do with corporate greed, apparently, according to him.
Yeah, this dude was definitely a boss and not a leader. You can tell by the way he talks. He's definitely a boss. Derek, now it's time to boss around these PlayStation quickies. Get to it, man.
Yeah. So, and we got some more PS5 Pro tidbits coming in for to start things off. First off, the PS5 Pro will have 40 to 50 enhanced games at launch. The PS5 Pro's PSSR will work on all games without a patch, even PSVR 2 games. The Pro supports 8K and visual refresh rate. The Pro is compatible with all current PS5 accessories. Excuse me. The Pro will be bigger than the PS5 Slim, but not the original PS5. The Pro will also have Wi-Fi 7 support. Mark Cerny says the PS5 Pro targets removing decision between fidelity and performance. The PS5 disk drive is currently outselling all Xbox consoles on Amazon in the US. Refurbished PS5s will be sold by Sony via PlayStation Direct at reduced price, taking another cut from GameStop's revenue by just undercutting them in all ways. And as a former employee, I love to see it. PS5 Pro will still have 30 frames per second games, as its enhanced label doesn't guarantee 60 frames a second.
Yeah, I saw that today. That's crazy because they didn't mention that at all. They're trying to slide that one past you.
Yep, the diversion. Polls show only around 10 to 15% plan to buy a PS5 Pro, while most consider it too expensive. The PS5 Pro announcement video is Sony's most disliked console reveal on YouTube. The Pro announcement sparks PS5 disk drive sales rush and scalping concern. The PS5 DualSense controller reportedly sees price increase worldwide. The big PS5 update adds welcoming hub, party share, and more new features. PlayStation reveals new board game, collectibles, and more to celebrate PlayStation's 30th anniversary. Rumor, PlayStation Studios games won't be featured in September's State of Play, so probably third-party and indie partners. Concord's secret level episode will reportedly remain in Amazon's upcoming game-based series. Concord may be unsalvageable, according to one analyst, as fans debate potential free-to-play future. Bungie celebrates 10 years of Destiny, reveals new release model of 2 medium expansions a year. My First GT is a free trial version of Gran Turismo 7 coming to the PS5 and PS4 this holiday. Days Gone co-director says Deacon St. John is, quote, reduced to a cartoon shill in Astrobot ad. Just be glad. All I gotta say is just be glad they brought in Deacon St. John or they referenced him at all. Team Asobi wants to replicate PlayStation first-party success from 20 years ago. Metacritic reveals Astrobot is the highest-rated standalone game of 2024 so far. Thank you. Astrobot credits reference IPs not included in the game, which points to possible DLC cameo bots. Piggybacking off of that, it was confirmed that DLC will include new VIP bots. Leaderboards for speedrun stages have also been confirmed. And lastly, Sony's Herman Holst says Astrobot is a, quote, very, very important IP for PlayStation.
Because it's doing well.
Correct.
Yeah, it should have been important to him for years.
Yeah.
Like we're in a situation, no joke, where Astrobot is probably going to be a Game of the Year contender and might just win. And you know what? It doesn't have microtransactions. It's not live service. It's just a freaking fun game.
Yeah.
Maybe we should make more of those. I don't know. I know that's crazy to say.
You talking crazy now, Bo. We don't do that here.
I'm going to have to mute you, Bo. I have a Sony representative standing at my door giving me the signal, so can't keep saying that. I think this one is interesting. I have it highlighted on my end. My First GT being a free game, because we all know that around Christmas a lot of people get new consoles and everything, and them giving a free trial version of Gran Turismo, I think is a really good thing, because also Nintendo loves packaging that Mario Kart in there. So having something like that will be cool as well. I loved Gran Turismo 2 back in the day. That was a good game. A very good game. It's time, everyone, for the Patreon Quick Hits. Patreon Quick Hits are brought to you by our wonderful patrons. Go support the Nerd Cave by getting your very own Nerd Cave membership to help us continue to make awesome shows like this one, Eat, Sleep, Anime, Car Thoughts, all the cool things that we do, and the live streams that we brought back on Tuesdays.
Whoop, whoop.
Guys, y'all go support us over there. Become part of the ship, part of the crew over on patreon.com/nerdcave. Now for the Patreon Quick Hits.
Starting off, Black Myth Wukong sold 18 million copies in 2 weeks, and an expansion is now in the pipeline. Tencent's Lightspeed LA signs SAG-AFTRA interim agreement and becomes the first studio to agree on AI protections that actors are striking over. Like a Dragon Dev will continue making games about middle-aged guys doing middle-aged guy things. Street Fighter 6 sales have reached 4 million worldwide. Hironobu Sakaguchi is excited to be working on a new game now that he's decided not to retire. Larian confirms Baldur's Gate 3 Patch 7 is not the final update, but it doesn't want to talk about what's coming just yet. Following that, Baldur's Gate 3 modder unlocks complete dev toolkit to create entirely new campaigns and content. Microsoft confirms Xbox broadcast for Tokyo Game Show. Warhammer 40k Space Marine 2 was slammed with server troubles as Focus Entertainment says it's aware of technical issues. Following that, Space Marine 2 to get ultra-wide support, private PvE lobbies, and more in its first patch. Following that, Space Marine 2 is the fastest-selling game that Tom Willits and Todd Hollinshead have worked on. Upcoming Alan Wake update will remove David Bowie's Space Oddity from the soundtrack and will replace it with a new original song. Microsoft working with Inotria, the last song dev, to bring it to Xbox and will use feedback to improve. 80 games have signed the SAG-AFTRA interim agreement. Bethesda reveals Starfield's new planet has over 50 new locations. Machine Games is encouraging Indiana Jones players to not use gunplay, but their whip and wits. From Software has several new projects in the works as it launches new recruitment campaign. Star Wars Outlaws to address punishing instant fail stealth missions in new patch. Lost Boys Interactive has issued another round of layoffs. GTA 6 delay rumor has been shot down by Jason Schreier after hearing from 6 Rockstar employees. Ubisoft shares drop again. Forgot to take that out because I made it a story. Roblox will start letting game makers sell their games for real money. Carmen Sandiego game has been announced for Netflix, Steam, PlayStation, Xbox, and Switch. Call of Duty Black Ops 6 won't have early access for its campaign. Activision says Black Ops 6's beta was the biggest COD beta ever. The Plucky Squire story will last 8 to 10 hours, features 2 difficulty modes, and a $30 price tag. Metal Gear Solid Master Collection Volume 2 is coming, but Konami indicates it might be a while. Dead Island 2 Ultimate Edition due out October 22nd, alongside free New Game Plus and Horde Mode update. Payday 3's game director is stepping away from the role as Starbreeze prepares for year 2. Xbox is bringing back friend requests for the first time since the Xbox 360 era. Disastrous Borderlands movie ends its theater run with just $31 million gained. And lastly, Xbox Game Pass standard tier doesn't include Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3, Starfield, Diablo 4, and more.
Oh, man. I really want to play Space Marine 2.
I know. I keep seeing things, and I just keep seeing Gears of War.
Yeah, it feels and looks like a 360 game, and I'm like, that's good stuff.
Yeah.
That's good stuff. So yeah, I'm glad that actors are getting protection from AI.
Yeah.
Like that is definitely needed. And like a dragon, keep doing it. Keep doing it. Keep making games about middle-aged
guys
doing middle-aged guy things,
Yeah.
We're here for it. You're going to keep making tons of money. And guys,
True.
You can give us tons of money by going over to patreon.com/nerdcave and getting your NerdCave membership there. It helps us keep the lights and the mics on and bring in awesome people like Bo here. Bo got paid nothing to be here tonight, but he got smiles. He got to smile and laugh and talk about video games. So that put food in his belly. You don't know it, but that put food in his belly. So, Bo, tell everybody where they can find you and what they can expect on your awesome channel.
Well, you can find me at Bono's Gaming over on YouTube. And I don't know. What am I working on right now? I've got several things in the works. I've been doing some more VR content recently. Just really enjoying some of the stuff going on over there in the VR world. And that's kind of I kind of bounce around some because, a lot of channels are very focused in on one thing. Like you might be just a PlayStation channel or Switch or whatever. But I kind of just go with whatever I'm feeling that week. But I've got some retro handheld stuff that I'm working on as well. I've got something coming out, I believe, in the morning. Yeah, it should be in the morning. A video on it's a first impressions unboxing video, but it's on I don't have it with me, but it's a little handheld console. And it plays all kinds of games from Nintendo, Super Nintendo, Genesis, PlayStation 1, PSP, N64, all kinds of stuff. So a little emulation device. So you can check that out in the morning. Yeah. Thanks for having me on. I'm also on Twitter. Bono's Gaming on Twitter as well.
Boom. If y'all on X.
Yeah, X. Sorry.
Bo's ready to give it to you over on X. His hot takes. Bo tagged me in something like months ago, and I logged on to Twitter and or X, whatever. And I was like, oh, that's really cool. Like it was a Sea of Stars thing. And I was like, that looks cool. And it was literally like 3 months after. It's happening.
Better late than never.
Yeah, exactly. I acknowledged you, Bo. I acknowledge you. I see you. Well, guys, go check out Bo Knows Gaming and be back here on Tuesday where we'll play some more video games, hang out, and have a wonderful time. And as we go into the weekend, be safe. Don't be sorry. This has been Zach.
Jebediah Elijah McCrae.
And Bo.
Y'all have a blessed week. Bye-bye.